As a high school English teacher, I have a vested interest in what students choose to read outside the classroom. Therefore, I try to keep up with some of the best-selling young adult fiction. Much of this genre is written in collections that become widely popular and are then adapted to film, such as Harry Potter, Twilight, and Percy Jackson, to name a few. The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay are 3 books by Suzanne Collins that were published between 2008 and 2010. Each book has made the New York Times bestseller list, and sales of the collection surpassed those of the Harry Potter series. The trilogy falls into the science fiction and dystopian literature genres. The stories are set in an unspecified time in the futuristic nation of Panem. Each novel chronicles a new adventure of 16-year-old heroine Katniss Everdeen against the totalitarian government of the capital. With the romantic love triangle of Katniss, Peeta, and Gale as a backdrop for the suspense and violence of the arena, the books easily made the transition to the big screen. Each of the aforementioned young adult series gathers its own following or fandom, the activities of which are easily traced through various forms of social media. The Hunger Games has a strong following in the Twittersphere and seemed a worthwhile topic for study, especially since the second movie, Catching Fire, was released on November 22, 2013. Because the books and the first movie were so popular, the release of the second movie and the soundtrack were highly anticipated and advertised months in advance. I opened Martin Hawksy's tags in October to archive #The Hunger Games. Approximately 20 days later, 1 month before the movie's official release date, it reached its maximum cell capacity. So after culling 30 random tweets, I applied the next step in the grounded theory process. Initially, I coded the intent or rhetorical function of the tweets into 5 categories of purpose. Upon collaboration with classmates, it became evident that I needed a greater variety of codes and more accurate definitions regarding the rhetorical function of the tweets. I redefined the existing codes for accuracy, which led to the creation of 3 new codes and definitions, giving me 8 total. I then applied those primary and secondary codes to a random selection of 150 tweets with the Hunger Games hashtag. After calculating and charting the totals and percentages for both the primary and secondary codes, I saw that the majority of tweets incorporating the hashtag primarily served 3 rhetorical purposes: mediating, narrating, and dispersing. Many tweets narrated the user's current experience, then included pictures or links to other websites or articles. I defined very few tweets as primarily mediating, but many users narrating and anticipating chose to mediate that experience for their followers, and those also including the Hunger Games hashtag. Another noticeable connection was that users narrating their activities expressed a high level of excitement or anticipation about the Hunger Games, so I often used both mediating and anticipating as secondary codes for those tweets. I defined retweeting as dispersing because much of the retweets for the Hunger Games hashtag came from what I would consider official or fan accounts for the series or actors cast as major characters. It appears that the majority of Hunger Games enthusiasts simply want to share their involvement or excitement with like-minded people. While those including #The Hunger Games in their tweets are broadcasting their involvement or excitement about the Hunger Games, there are few, if any, conversations taking place between members of the larger community. Something unique to the Hunger Games hashtag is that it included fans of musicians whose songs were on the soundtrack, celebrities starring in the films, and the book series. Considering the lack of conversation taking place about the hashtag, I was hesitant to define this group as a community. Reingold defined virtual communities as social aggregations that emerge from the net when enough people carry on those public discussions long enough with sufficient human feeling to form webs of personal relationships in cyberspace. However, the Hunger Games hashtag does establish a network, if not a community, through ambient affiliation, an association based on the immediate surroundings of time and virtual space, as explained by Michelle Zapovina. The association or relationship among Twitter users is established with the inclusion of a hashtag that temporarily establishes a social bond. #The Hunger Games brings users together in a social group that does not require direct interaction. One possible reason for the minimal conversation may be that the Hunger Games hashtag brings together fans of different media. Another, perhaps negatively perceived aspect of this particular hashtag is the retweeting by official or fan accounts. The article Tweet, Tweet, Retweet, Conversational Aspects of Retweeting on Twitter explains the different purposes for retweeting. Twitter combines the properties of social networking sites, email, and blogs in a unique way. There is no need for reciprocity between users and their followers, but there is an added level of visibility with tagging. In some cases, retweeting is synonymous with forwarding mail. Sometimes retweets are part of a larger story, like the release of a movie. People retweet to amplify or disperse tweets to a wider audience, to publicly agree with someone, or for self-gain. Self-gain could intend to attract more followers or create reciprocity of visible participants. Marketers specifically rely on the retweet to spread positive messages about their brand to consumers. In the case of the Hunger Games hashtag, it doesn't appear harmful or distasteful for official accounts to retweet fans. I make this claim because the tweets coded did not lead to a fan-created product, simply information and images fans had found. Mark Duffett explains that the work of fandom, therefore official fan accounts, is to heighten our sense of excitement and supply fans with a significant source of meaning. Mark Duffett also quotes P. David Marshall and explains his concept of synergy, bringing fans closer to the once distant object of the fandom because of the engagement made possible through social media. He also explains the idea of a gift economy in fandom, both of which may apply to the Hunger Games hashtag community, because not only do the fans share with one another, the official fan accounts share celebrity pictures and sneak peeks of filming, interviews with stars, and important upcoming events. As the popularity of the films encourages interest in the literature, there may be a shift in the relationships in the community. Overall, the Hunger Games fans, whether they be fans of the literature, celebrities, or music, seemed to simply want to share their interest and excitement about the release of Catching Fire.